What exactly is going on in Togo?
Well, the people of Togo are having a revolution. They want the current government of Nyasimbe to just exit because they have been ruled by the same family for 50 years.
50?
Yes, and it has been 50 years of abuse. It hasn't been 50 years under the sun. The Togolese government is a military regime, and they are one of the most brutal regimes we've ever seen in Africa.
What do you mean a military regime? I thought you guys had elections.
We have elections, but we have this tendency of legitimizing governments in Africa through elections, no matter how fraudulent they are. You have militaries coming in and brutalizing people, stealing ballots, removing electoral commission members from the room, proclaiming false results, and then you have some institutions who pretend that nothing happened. So those elections do not reflect and have never reflected the will of the people of Togo.
What do the people want right now?
The people of Togo just want change, because after 50 years of suffering, of brutality, of human rights abuses, of government arresting people when they feel like it and throwing them in jail, of killing people and dumping their bodies into lagoons and seas, we just want to turn off and switch off that episode of brutality in our country. And we feel left out when you look at all our neighbors, whether it is in Benin, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, how do I say? Gambia, Burkina Faso. People have been moving forward. They have been moving away from tyranny, but Togo is actually slacking behind. So we just want to change, to be able to kind of like have a chance to also enjoy our country.
This movement, is it a movement that has taken hold of the generality of the people, or just a few people feeling like it's their turn to have power?
No, this is not at all about politicians. This is a movement of the people. It's all started, I can't say it's all started, but on August 19, there's this party that organized 2017, just like 3 weeks ago. A party asked for people to come out and call for the reinstatement of the constitution, of the 1992 constitution, which was the only constitution that the Togolese people have ever voted for by over 97%. And that constitution encompasses term limits and 2 rounds elections. But Eyadema, prior to his death, knowing he's dying and wanting to retain himself with power before he dies and allow himself to come in, he changed the constitution and created one that befits him and his son. So his son took over in a very bloody way, and they organized some elections to credibilize him, but those elections led to the killing of over 1,000 people. Although the United Nations acknowledged that at least 500 people were killed, they silenced it. Until today, no action has been taken against that. So people have been pushing and pushing, bring back our constitution, bring back the term limits, and they have been through several dialogues with the government, but the government has refused completely to operate a single of those dialogues. So when they went on the streets, they were asking the government to just go back to the constitution. We don't want reforms anymore, just bring our constitution back. And they ordered their shooting, and they killed several of them, they wounded many of them. So that sparked on anger, general anger. People are like, you know what, if this is how you want it, we don't even want to discuss anymore, we just want you out.
Nigeria's former president, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, said he agrees with the protesters that it's time for Eyadema to go.
Yes.
I believe whatever he has to do in terms of development, whatever ideas he has, he must have exhausted them by now.
Yes.
Unless
But have you gotten any form of support from the likes of ECOWAS, from the likes of the United Nations, Human Rights Watch, and the like? Because the appearance of what is happening in Togo is that people are being killed for voicing their rights as citizens of Togo.
That's basically what I am trying to do, trying to go to people, try to go to organizations and institutions to gain their support, to explain the situation to them. And if I'm in Nigeria today and I decided to visit people at the ECOWAS and to meet some people from the AU, it is because I felt that they have not been doing enough for us. And although their explanations do make sense, I and the people of Togo feel like we do not matter enough, because we have seen them taking bolder steps with other countries. Then they cite protocols and they cite laws. Well, we cannot come in unless this happens, and then you guys have to do this. But when people are dying, they don't have that kind of patience. It is about their lives. Just last week after the protest, the government of Togo, what they did after shutting down internet for 1 week, They started going into homes and beating people in their homes. When people refused to get out of their rooms, they dropped tear gas in their rooms to force them out so they could beat them. I have images and videos of...
I saw the old woman.
Exactly. So people are being abused and repressed right now, and we believe this is unacceptable. So we are condemning the fact that institutions like the ECOWAS are remaining quiet, and it is confirming our doubts that, hey, maybe it's because the president of the ECOWAS, the chair of the ECOWAS is our president, and then the high commissioner is his brother-in-law. So we have a family situation there. How did this happen? How did they allow brother-in-laws to become the heads of both a country and the heads of the most important institution in the region? So we feel betrayed, and we just want these people to realize that we don't have patience for them anymore. The people of Togo have been patient for 50 years. They cannot ask them to wait any longer for change.
So now it looks like ECOWAS, the AU, the UN, and all the other institutions are finding it difficult moving to support the Togolese people. What would you have the average African or the average human being, any part of the world, do to support the movement in Togo?
You know, my intake is that the problem is not the ECOWAS, the problem is us. The reality is
us Togolese or
us Africans in general. You know, we complain a lot about the fact that these institutions are not effective. Well, they get resources, but they're not producing results. But in these institutions, there are a lot of political games, power games, corruption. Just the same way people see that sometimes some people just give up on politics because they are bad guys everywhere. In the opposition, they are bad guys. On the government side, they are bad guys. So they're just like, you know what, then I'm going to give up. No, we must not give up on these institutions. If they don't do what we want, if their actions do not reflect our values and our principles, then we have to force it upon them. So I believe that the people and the citizens of all the different countries that form the ECOWAS and African Union have a role to play into pushing these institutions to do the right thing. So that is why I'm asking for the support of the people from all over the places. Nigeria, like I'm here right now, Cote d'Ivoire, Niger, Burkina Faso, Ghana, Senegal, Ghana, even non-West African states like Cameroon. They don't even have to say that we have a worse government, so let's focus on our own. They need to know that the more we are getting rid of the bad ones, the more we are going forward and approaching the Africa we want our children to grow up in. So if you have, for example, the chair of the ECOWAS brutalizing his own people, how is he going to be fair to you when your own government will be brutalizing you, for example, in Mali or Senegal? So we need to get the bad guys out, and we have to come together to do it now.
How do we join this conversation online?
The hashtag for the movement is Togo Debout. Togo Debout is spelled T-O-G-O-D-E-B-O-U-T. Some also use the Togo Vieux-Fond, which is in Amina, which means the Togolese children, like the Togolese people have a stance, they are awake. So Togo Vieux-Fond is spelled T-O-G-O-V-I-W-O-F-O-N.
Like most revolutions,
yes,
people often know what they don't want, and they try to push what they don't want away. So we already have established that the Togolese people do not want the Eyadema dynasty and the military that backs it up anymore.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of Togo do you desire? What kind of Togo are you fighting for? What kind of Togo do you want to see arise from this revolution?
That's a good question, because I always tell people that I am not fighting against the government, I am fighting for a country. We want a country that is, first of all, free of abuse, because human rights abuses in Togo are extremely overwhelming. We have gone through so much. People have no idea of the kind of brutality we have gone through. This government ordered the shooting of secondary and elementary kids because the kids were protesting against their teachers striking and they wanted to go back to school.
Children?
Yes, and the youngest they killed was 10 years old. He died 1 week shy from his 11th birthday. So when you have government that is willing to use live bullets on children protesting, imagine what they do with the adults. We don't want our children to grow up in fear like we have. We don't want to grow up in a Togo where we are silenced. When we see people embezzling our resources, the president running around with our resources, buying himself private jets, Maybachs and expensive luxurious cars, building mansions, when the average Togolese woman is delivering her babies on the floor in the hospital, when we don't have simple running water in the largest hospital of Togo, and doctors prescribe pure water in order to wash their hands. When we don't have a single scan machine for a whole nation, and the Togolese have to go to Benin or Cote d'Ivoire to get a scan when they are sick. So we want a Togo in which we end all form of oppression. When people in power feel like they have the ability to undermine the rights of others. That's number one. Then we have a Togo in which our resources are better managed, and the Togolese people have a say in the way these resources are managed. So we don't want to be observers of our country being ruled. We want to take part and have a say in the way our country is ruled. That is the kind of Togo that I want, for every citizen to participate in the governance of the country. We are fighting for our right to build our country, and we are being deprived of that right now.
From what I hear, the Togo you want isn't any different from the desire of the average African in the kind of country they want to run for themselves. So I completely believe that every rational African will be standing with you, whether in South Africa, whether in Nigeria, whether in Ghana, whether in Cote d'Ivoire, whether in Kenya, whether in Tanzania, and including the African diaspora.
Thank you very much, Omojua. Thank you.